By the way, you don't have to cut them this way. This is purely for YouTube. Stovetop glazed carrots. One of the easiest hosting dishes because you can always adjust the heat to determine when it should be ready. Now, we have the carrots already peeled. Cut the top off and you turn while you cut it at a 45-degree angle. I mean, I love roasted carrots. But the thing is, when you time it, you kind of have to time it to perfection. Let's say you want to roast it for an hour and your guests are still talking, or like your main is not yet ready. What do you do with the roasted carrots, you know? They get cold, they dry out. By the time people start eating sides, yeah, they're not even warm anymore. Whereas this, you can keep lowering the heat until people want to eat. And we're practically cooking the carrots in their own juices. So there's very little loss of flavor. What you're essentially doing is you're evaporating the water content and concentrating the sweetness of the carrots. By the way, you don't have to cut them this way. This is purely for YouTube. And of course, the smaller the cuts, the faster they cook. So if you're really in a rush, you just do it this size. Now that the carrot's ready, you melt a bit of the butter, carrots in. And you season. Bit of salt. The salt would help the carrot release its natural liquid, and that would create some steam. And pepper. And at this point, you just want to add a dash of liquid. It can be sake, mirin, water, just to help it get going. And lid on. A molecular gastronomy purist would probably tell you, oh, you should never add water because you want the carrot to steam its own juice and you want to cook it at a much lower heat than this. Yes, if you start it with a cold pan, you do not add any liquid, you cook it over an hour, would it be marginally better? Yes. I can do this in 20 minutes and it's probably 1% less sweet. So I think sometimes we have to look at the effort to reward ratio. I mean, I'm not bashing the molecular gastronomist, by the way. I'm saying that because I was so firmly in that camp that it took some realization that sometimes you're doing so much for a 1% gain. So is it worth it? Well, it's up to you. Once you can hear the steam coming through, you give it about 20 minutes, and if your guests are still talking, you lower the heat. If they're still talking, you lower the heat further until you reach the lowest possible setting. Then you tell everyone, hey, it's time for food. Alright, after 20 minutes, we check on the carrots. What you want is you use a fork to see whether the carrot is offering the kind of resistance that you desire. Some people like it crunchy, some people like it falling apart, and this is how I like them. So, we glaze it, which means we're going to evaporate the water content so that the butter and the residual sugar would coat the carrots. While this evaporates, we'll slice a bit of parsley to garnish and add a bit of brightness to the sweet carrots. As you can see, most of the liquid has evaporated. That's when you add the parsley. then you plate. A bit more parsley for garnish. And there you have it. The easiest side dish in the world. Glazed carrots with butter, black pepper, and parsley. I hope you enjoy.